Hey everybody, this is D Hunter, bringing another action figure review. Today, we're going to look at the Fan Super Batman in his armored suit from Arkham Origins. This is Batman in his armored XE suit from when he fought Mr. Freeze in the DLC A Cold Cold Heart. The suit was amazing in the game, and I always wanted an action figure of this. Little did I know, this company made this a while ago. I was really happy somebody brought this to my attention. Now this is by Fan Super, and it's a third-party, unlicensed, and unauthorized action figure. There are a lot of different Chinese and overseas companies making these unlicensed figures, and they're usually pretty nice. The people behind them have a lot of passion and attention to detail. So let's take a look at the packaging. As you can see at the top, 1/12 scale action figure. Here he is on the front, Batman in his armored suit, holding a couple of batarangs. If the front is any indication, it looks like he's going to have a cloth wired cape, and it looks great so far. One side of the package, this has Batman in his XE suit, 1/12 scale figure. And I find it very interesting they say Batman. Most of these third-party unlicensed figures will not say Batman or Bruce Wayne or Arkham or any of those things. For example, I recently got a Thomas Wayne Flashpoint Batman, and it was called Night of Vengeance. They're always worried about getting additional legal trouble, although, I mean, look at this guy. It's obviously Batman. On the back side, now this is where it gets really weird. It says the end begins 6/23/15. And it's advertising the release date of Batman Arkham Knight. Now he never wore this suit in Arkham Knight, so I find it very odd. I don't know if the guys behind this were just confused or just screwed up. I can't really think of any reason why they would put Batman Arkham Knight on the back instead of Batman Arkham Origins. I can understand them not putting Batman Arkham Origins to avoid legal trouble, but they put Batman Arkham Knight, which definitely has copyright. So it just seems really, really odd. And the other side says Fan Super. And then here's a look at all the different accessories he comes with. I noticed the eBay listing I bought it from said this was the normal version. So I don't know if there's a deluxe version out there. If there is, shame on me for getting the wrong one. Drop me a line in the comments below if anyone has any information about that. So the packaging is pretty cool. It has some magnets holding it together. You can open it up. This entire backside actually comes off. And it looks like it's a map of Arkham Knight, which is the wrong video game altogether. Still, very cool. And then we're left with the inside clamshell. Here's the figure. He comes with a couple heads, a bunch of different hands. Looks like a grappling launcher and a couple batarangs. So with no further ado, let's open him up. Alright. Now that this figure out of the package, here he is with all his accessories laid out. He comes with 6 alternate hands, totaling 8 interchangeable hands, 2 batarangs, a grappling launcher, and then an alternate head. But before we take a look at those, let's talk about and check out the actual figure. So this is Batman in his XE suit. That's straps for the extreme environmental suit. It was being prototype tested, and then when Mr. Freeze attacked Wayne Manor, Batman was forced to use it. It's a large, bulky armored suit, and he has some heat abilities as well. I always thought it was one of the coolest suits in the entire Arkham franchise, and it's a shame no one ever made a figure for it. So let's take a look. This is sort of a Mezco style, 1/12 cloth soft goods figure. Let's start with his head here, and this is the one that has the entire face covered up. His mouth is covered up. He's in the extreme environmental suit, prepared for cold weather, no flesh exposed, white eyes. Really, really nice looking so far. Shoulder pads. Now, they can move, kind of get out of the way, but they can also make it look kind of bad. Going further down, he's armored. He's got the bat symbol on his chest. Silver, weathered armor. Some abs there. Now, in the game, the suit was sort of glowing orange. You can see I tried to sort of simulate the effects. It's glowing orange here, down here. They even put a little bit of string into his pants to make it seem it's glowing. Orange effects down below. On his hands. He's got the fins, they're kind of high up, and that is how it was in the game. He's got all these sort of fake little pistons and stuff. They just sort of come out, but every time it goes right back into the place. He's got those cleated boots, looks good. I do feel as a whole, it's just not quite bulky enough. I don't know. Looks like the cape does not have a wire in it like I thought based off the packaging. It is cloth though. He's got this cloth outfit. It's black. Underneath, all these hard armor parts put on top. It's good, but it doesn't feel as nice as a Mezco figure, that's for sure. I don't know, something's just a little off, and it looks a little too tight on some of the parts that are cloth. I don't know, it just feels a little too thin. Not big and bulky enough because that suit was giant in the game. Still, the detailing is fantastic all over this thing, and I'm really happy to add them to the collection. So overall, I think the armor looks absolutely fantastic. I'm not really fond of the way the black cloth soft goods suit attaches to the body. It's a little too tight, gets sucked into the joints, etc. Just doesn't look quite as smooth as Mezco stuff. Also, the figure's a little bit smaller than I would like, that's for sure. He is fantastic for 6-inch scale figures, and even more or less like 6.5-inch type stuff. But how much 6-inch scale Arkham stuff is out there? None. It's all 7-inch scale. It'd be awesome if he actually fit in with the rest of the Arkham collection. That being said, still a really cool figure. Having onto the collection, just wish he was a little bit larger. And just a closer look at his face and head sculpt. Looks very nice. Armored batsuit. And here's the figure broken down as far as he can go, with all of his removable parts detached. Now let's check out his accessories. And let's start off with his hands. He has a total of 8 hands, 4 left hands, and 4 right hands. Here he is with his first pair of hands. These are his fists. And here's his second pair of hands. It's a pair of gripping hands. The right hand has a gripping hand with a trigger finger, and the left hand is a much smaller grip. And here's his third pair of hands. These hands are pretty normal. They would look good relaxed at his sides. Some nice default hands. And here's his final pair of hands. These hands have his fingers extended, fully open. They remind me of when he would use his hands to heat up blocks of ice in the DLC. Now for his heads. He has a total of 2 of them. They're both in the armored look. The one on the left has a mouth covered, and the one on the right, the mouth exposed. Here's his first head. This one is fully covered. And here's his other head. This one has the mouth exposed. Now for his batarangs. Kind of the Arkham style batarang. Black in the middle. You can see where it's supposed to sort of be articulated. And it's got silver tips on the wings. Here's Batman holding and getting ready to throw his batarang. Here's his grapnel launcher, or it could be the bat claw. They look pretty much the same in the games. As you can see, it's got the handle here, a little area here for the cord to wrap up, and the claw at the front. The claw itself is not removable in this piece like some of the DC Direct versions. Here it is, next to both DC Direct and McFarlane versions of their bat claw. Notice how much smaller it is, because this guy's overall a smaller scale than those figures. And here's Batman. Gary used his bat claw, or grapnel launcher. Now that I've taken a pretty good look at both the figure and his accessories, now let's check out his height. From bottom to the top of his head, he's standing at about 6.8 inches tall, which can translate to about 17 centimeters. And if you go to the top of the ears, just about 7 inches tall. Now for his articulation. Start with his head here. Of course, you can rotate from side to side. You can look up about that far, down about that far. Pretty nice range of motion there. He can't tilt his head from one side to the other. His shoulder pads, they're articulated. They're going to move out of the way if you need to use his arms, but they look hideous when they're up like this. But it will allow you to use his arm in an upward pose, whether he's grappling or use his batarang. Then we have his shoulders, ball joint, goes out way more than 90 degrees, up, down, around, all that good stuff. Doesn't really have drop down shoulders. He's got a little bit of forward and back motion. Not sure I'd call it a butterfly joint, but there's a little bit going on there. Bicep cut below that. He's got, looks like double jointed elbows. They don't go in all the way. The armor's going to obstruct that. No elbow rotation. You get that in the bicep cut. Then his wrists can rotate, and it is hinged as well. And you can change the way it's hinged by rotating that ball joint in there. His torso here, he's got this bulky armor, which looks fantastic, by the way. So even if there's articulation under there, you're not going to be able to do anything with it. So his waist, it's got a ball joint, rotate around, forward and back. Legs, now this is where I sort of have a problem. I don't think it looks very good in this area. I don't know, it needs like some armor on here, just kind of blank. Leg, it can rotate independently against the ball here. Then go forward, about that far. Back just a little bit, out, pretty much all the way. It's not loose, but I'm worried it might get that way. I don't know. It's again, same thing on the other side, of course. Double jointed knees, but they don't go all the way back. The big bulky armor is going to obstruct that. It has these weird sort of fake hydraulics or pistons, and they only work when they go back into the areas sort of above them there. But it works every time. I don't really understand how, but it does. I've never once had them sort of go onto the side of that thing. Then his ankle here, it's also on a ball joint. Rotate. See, and it comes out not exactly easy, but if you push it a little too hard, it can. And rotation is very minimal in this thing, which would really help if it had a little bit more of an ankle rocker. When I was doing the batarang or grapnel poses, kind of having them like this, I just couldn't tilt out the way I wanted to. Rotate, forward and back. Tilt rock is just barely anything. Really nice boots, and he has those spikes on them. Looks good. Biggest complaint is probably going to be the lack of ankle tilting. It can make it hard to stand him in certain poses, and with his feet being this big, it shouldn't be that hard to stand him up. Now for his cape. Turn around. He's got this cape. It's made of soft goods. Extends out about this far. It's nice, but nothing exceptional. Here's Batman at the Batcave, about to get suited up in his XC suit. And a closer look at Batman, getting ready to put the suit on. Here's Batman on a rooftop overlooking Gotham. He's going to take down Mr. Freeze and save the city. Here's Batman holding onto a block of ice. He's going to melt his way through with his XC suit heat gloves. Now let's check him out. Next to some other action figures, starting off with some Arkham Origins figures. Now the absolute first thing I wanted to do was compare him with the DC Direct Arkham Origins Batman, and to my surprise, he's actually bigger than him. This, being a 1/12 scale figure, is not exactly intended to go alongside the DC Direct Arkham collection, but is really not too far off. Yeah, he should be a little bit bigger, a little bit thicker and chunkier, but he is bigger than the DC Direct Arkham Origins Batman, and for that, I thank you. And I actually have 4 DC Direct Arkham Origins Batman figures. These all came from different packages. From left to right, the very first one is the individual release. Then the second one is exactly the same and came with a multi-pack. Then, next to the XC Suit Batman, the third one, this one has the 2 open hands that can grip the weapon. He came in a 4-pack. And the last one, the yellow belt, he came in a multi-pack with some 75th anniversary Batman figures. And here he is, next to the Mattel Batman Unlimited Arkham Origins Batman. I would say the XC Suit Batman scales up perfect with this guy. He's a ton bigger. It makes sense. You put this Batman into a big bulky armored suit. And even though they weren't in the Arkham Origins Cold Heart DLC, here's this XC Suit Batman next to the 8 assassins from Arkham Origins. Really cool, diverse looking display of villains. Now let's check him out. Next to some Mr. Freeze figures. Here he is, next to the DC Direct Arkham City Mr. Freeze. They scale up okay next to each other. Batman actually seems to be about the right size. He should be a little bigger, but Mr. Freeze is in a pretty big suit too, so it works for me. Unfortunately, nobody makes an Arkham Origins Mr. Freeze. I would be all over that thing. Here's this Batman next to all of my DC Direct and DC Collectibles Mr. Freeze figures. Then, with my McFarlane DC Multiverse Mr. Freeze figures. And here he is, next to a DST or Diamond Select Toys Gotham Mr. Freeze. And now, next to all of my Mattel Mr. Freeze figures. Now let's check them out. Next to some other third-party, unauthorized, unlicensed Batman figures. Here he is, next to the SSR, Thomas Wayne Flashpoint Batman, and Endgame Joker. Then, next to a Nota Studios, Ben Affleck, Bruce Wayne from the DC Cinematic Universe. And here, with both a Mixed Max Deathstroke and Two-Face. Here's this Batman, next to a Felix Toys Joaquin Phoenix Joker, and with a couple of Patriot Studios Joaquin Phoenix Joker figures. And since he's a Mezco style figure, here he is, next to some Mezco 1/12 collective Batman figures. And here he is, next to a Cloth Soft Goods Mezco Batman vs. Superman armored Batman figure. Then, next to some Mezco Batman villains, Now let's check him out. Next to some action figures from different various companies to see how he fits in both scale and style-wise, in case you have no designs you can mix him with. Since he's a 1/12 scale figure, that's a 6-inch scale, I want to start off my comparisons with some of these smaller action figure lines I collect, and work way larger, and I'm going to include as many Batman figures as I can during these comparisons. Here he is, next to some Jazzwares Fortnite figures, and here he is, next to some SH Figure Arts Batman figures. Here's Batman, next to a random houseplant. Then, with some Hasbro Marvel Legends, and here he is, with some Mafex Batman figures. Then, with some Mattel DC Universe Classics and Multiverse Batman figures. And here he is, next to some Mezco 1/12 Collective Batman figures. And now, next to some Jazzwares AEW wrestlers. Then, with some Mattel wrestling figures. And here he is, standing with some NECA Batman figures. Then, with some DC Direct and DC Collectibles Batman figures. And here he is, next to some McFarlane DC Multiverse Batman figures. And here he is, next to some DST or Diamond Select toys. And finally, next to some Jack-specific wrestling figures. So overall, this is a gorgeous armored Batman figure. I love the XC suit from Arkham Origins. It is absolutely fantastic, and it is so cool to finally have an action figure of it. Now the good things, he looks amazing, accessories are cool, cape's decent. His size is actually better than I expected. Originally that was one of my complaints, but he is bigger than the DC Direct Arkham Origins figure, which is very important to me. Now here are the problems. My guy's right hip is kind of loose. The soft goods part, I don't know, it just doesn't look as good as sort of the Mezco stuff. Kind of gets sucked into the joints. No ankle tilts really hurt this figure. He can be kind of hard to stand at times. His feet can pop off if you're trying to tilt him and get into certain poses. Pop off a little easier than I'd like. One of my wrists, the ball joint there, is trying to split apart. Overall, I do wish he was a little bit larger, but honestly, he scales up much better than I anticipated, and I was well aware he was advertised as a 1/12 scale figure when I got this guy. It's not like they tricked me into getting him. I actually expected him to be smaller than he is. He looks absolutely amazing, though, but as a whole, just doesn't quite feel as good and sturdy as I expected. That being said, sculpt and paint job are excellent, accessories are pretty good, articulation, it's good, but could be a little bit better. Even with some of the flaws I mentioned, this guy's still going to get a solid 7 out of 10. Wish he was a little better, but he's still awesome, and is going to be a great addition to my collection. So this is D Hunter. Thank you guys for watching this video. If you liked the video, press like below. If you have anything you want to say about the video, add to the comment section. If you want to see additional action figure reviews from me, press subscribe. I do appreciate when you do that. Once again, this is D Hunter. Thank you guys for watching this video, and I will talk to you guys real soon.